I'm Jane Mackey.
I'm Chris Love.
I'm Eric Stark.
So Chalk Talk is back for the fall 2012 season, and we're with you for the whole season from now until match racing closes out near Thanksgiving. We've got a lot of new things going on this season and some old favorites like Eric Stork.
Thanks, Jane. It's great to be back for this, the 7th season of Chalk Talk, and it's even better to have U.S. Sailing on board as presenting sponsor for the 5th time. Once again, we hope all of our audience will thank them by signing up for a college membership at ussailing.org/college.
Thanks, Eric. Of course, we're so grateful to have U.S. Sailing, and I'm so grateful to have both of you guys back with me again. For those of you who remember last season, we had Jane Mackey as a co-host. She was the 2009 ICSA Female Sailor of the Year. And Eric Stork was my co-host before that. He took last season off to go pursue his Olympic dream, representing the U.S. in the 49er. So I'm thrilled to be kicking off a new season right now. Why don't we take a look at this past weekend's events?
So first up is the Hood Trophy sailed at Tufts. Always an interesting regatta, always an interesting venue sailing in Larks. It seemed like a battle between Yale and Tufts with, at the beginning of race 5A, both of the crews of Yale and Tufts simultaneously fell out of their boats. Now this is not unsurprising on the shifty, puffy venue, the Mystic Lake. So it came down to the last race with Yale leading by 12 points and Tufts took the win, coming through on the Mystic Lake, thanks to Ken Legler for the photos this weekend.
And in Mesa, the St. Mary's Interconference was very well attended for a regatta in late September. Look at that A Division, incredibly deep and a lot of experience. B Division was good, but surprisingly young. 18 races in both divisions. Great conditions, though very different from day to day. In A Division, Roger Williams, Alec Anderson, Alyssa Seifert, and James Bartline put on a clinic, winning by 29 points. Other notes from the weekend, ODU proved a legitimate contender, leading by a good bit after Saturday. Georgetown roared back on Sunday in only 6 races in each division, went from 6th to 2nd. But the Hawks, led by their A Division team, got the win. Thanks to the St. Mary's team for the video.
All right, and now looking ahead at this coming weekend. We've got the Kerry Price hosted by Michigan. This is the big fall interconference for the Midwest Conference. We should see a slew of teams making the trip for that one. And then on the East Coast, it's the Denmark Trophy hosted by Coast Guard. 20 teams, all of the best talent in ICSA, although Georgetown won't be at this one. 2 fleets of boats out on the water at the same time. Traditionally, a lot of racing going on and a favorite event of many of the teams. And so this is a great opportunity, I think, to kick off this season's Chalk Talk Prediction Contest. If you're new to the show, every week, we pick one regatta, tell you who we think's going to win, and we keep score till the end of the season. Of course, you're welcome to play along at home or in the comments section on the YouTube video. All right, so let's kick it off. Denmark Trophy. What do you guys think?
I'm going to take a bit of a sleeper team, the Dartmouth Big Green. They've been right there past few weeks, and I think they're going to get it done.
Yeah, and I'm still thinking about national championships where Graham Landy totally killed it in B Division. He did really well winning at Tufts this weekend in A Division. I think Yale's looking pretty good for the Coast Guard event. I also know it's going to be breezy, and they've got a strong team in the breeze, close to home, so let's go Yale.
All right, well, you guys are going to make me look bad. You picked your alma maters. My alma mater, BU, will be there, but I'm sorry to say I'm actually going to go with Roger Williams. Just can't deny what happened this past weekend, and I'm thinking that they're going to get it done once again.
So within the last week, you may or may not have heard about the contract that ICSA has signed with Laser Performance, naming them the only boat builder for any college nationals and semi-final college championships for a couple of years to come. I believe it's 8 years, and that's for any kind of nationals excluding sloops only.
There's been a lot of buzz this week on the ICSA email list, and it all started with an open letter from MIT sailing master Fran Charles. And he doesn't agree with the terms of this agreement, and he made that very public. Before we get too far into the discussion, I've got to say, in the interest of full disclosure, I am a college sailing videographer, and I'm going to be putting in a bid again to do video coverage of nationals. And so I really have a vested interest. The money that we're talking about coming from Laser Performance is to support exactly that. So I'm going to kind of sit back and try to be as impartial as possible and let my co-hosts do the editorial duty. But we will start with the facts. First of all, ICSA is going to be receiving an undisclosed amount of money over the next several years to fund this video coverage. As part of that agreement, LP is requiring, since it's their coverage that's going to be showing nationals, they want their boats to be the only boats shown competing in these championships. So ICSA agreed to that term. Finally, there's the question of who has the authority to make these decisions. And that's beyond the scope of what we're going to talk about here on Chalk Talk, but we'll provide links to both sides of the argument so you can get a full understanding of all the ins and outs of this issue. But what we will talk about is probably the most important issue, and that's, is this good for college sailing? So in a second, I'm going to open it up to our panelists here and hear what they have to say. But first, we do have this exclusive look at a statement that just came out from ICSA telling their side of the story. Here's a few excerpts. These needs and additions cost money that the ICSA does not have and would not like to tax the membership to cover, but rather make partnerships with companies and supporters to provide. ICSA has a long history of corporate partnership with Laser Performance and Vanguard before it. Many past championships would not have been possible, nor as successful without the monetary and logistical support they have provided, which in many cases went beyond what they were contractually obligated to do. The majority of member schools currently own LP boats, and the last 11 years of national championships have been exclusively sailed in LP or Vanguard sailboats. The ICSA is proud to continue its partnership with Laser Performance. This new contract allows ICSA not only to provide new boats at single-hand nationals and support for our other national championships, but it brings top-of-the-line media coverage of our championships with video and commentary. We owe it to our fans, alumni, parents, and players to give them a great video product that will keep everyone excited about college sailing. The exclusivity of the contract is something that the leadership of the ICSA felt was worth the exchange and is in line with equipment supplier rights in other sports. Finally, the statement goes on to finish, sponsorship is difficult in the economy, and getting a contract like this will meet the growing needs of college sailing. So this statement was issued by the executive board of the ICSA. If you'd like to read the full statement, we'll put links to the statement in the description of the YouTube video. So with that, we open it up to the panel. Eric, Jane, what are your thoughts?
Well, thanks, Chris. First of all, I have to say that all of college sailing should be extraordinarily grateful to its sponsors. It takes a lot for a company to step behind college sailing, and we have to thank Laser Performance for doing that. Also, thanks to the volunteer leadership who secured that sponsorship. But I have to say that I don't think is this the best thing for college sailing at the moment. There has been some development going on in college sailing. I think there's more schools now without Laser Performance boats than there had been in a long time. You look at schools like Tufts and MIT, obviously, who have Larks and Fireflies, which I don't think would host college nationals anytime soon anyway. So, they probably aren't the ones who should be making the biggest argument. Who I see as truly affected by this is SUNY, Columbia, Fordham all got Zim 420s very recently, and they were going to put in a bid to host the semifinals in the very near future. And now they will not be able to do so. I think it would have been great not only for college sailing to sail in New York at those schools, but it would have been good for those schools who are building a team again.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, but I do think it's the job and it's the role of ICSA and their responsibility to make the best decision for the majority. And these schools that you just listed really are in the minority. I do think that based on the confirmed media dollars, this will do more for the sport than potentially these guys hosting the event. And even in saying that, in my experience in college sailing, it's a pretty communal group, and I think that when a team really wants to host a nationals and needs support, which has happened in past years, I think, you know, my nationals at Brown, they had to get a fleet of boats, maybe perhaps it was from BC, just to support them to have the nationals at their venue. And I don't see why other colleges wouldn't help to support them host at their venue if they needed the laser performance boats there. I also think that I was the first year to get to see the media coverage and at my senior nationals in San Fran, and it was such a cool experience to have people watching at home over the internet, and it really took college sailing into the future. And you know, this year we were struggling to find support to have live coverage of some of the events, and with McLaren finally coming in at the end, you know, we were able to provide it, but without that, we're not able to do it.
I agree with you, Jane. Media coverage is absolutely fundamental to any sport that wants to expand. And college sailing saw a deal that they thought was worth it and would grow the sport even beyond what the deal allows, because once you have media coverage, it's a lot easier to get more sponsorship. I get all that. However, we just need to keep up with this development that's been happening and get into more challenging boats. We have to challenge our sailors more. The technicality of the FJ and 420 are just so far behind what exists in other parts of the world, and we need to catch up.
So, I mean, it's an interesting point. When I first came over to the US and started college sailing, I was fast. I was really, really fast, and actually not in 420s, which I had to quickly learn how to sail, but that was the one thing I had going for me. And I think one of the most amazing things that college sailing really offers is learning to sail in any kind of boat when you really don't have a speed advantage. You have to rely on your strategy, your tactics, how you can make a boat go fast, and how you can work with your teammates. And it's really back to those fundamental basics that I think are so important, and I think are really valuable to the US sailing. And I think college sailing really provides that with this level playing field.
That's true, Jane, and I agree with you. Tactics in boat handling should always be at the core of college sailing. It shouldn't be an arms race. It shouldn't be, you know, just a boat speed race as you painted it. But it just could be more exciting. This media coverage that we're talking about as the end-all be-all would be a whole lot better if the boats were going twice the speed, which would be very, very easy to accomplish with some of the boats out there. So, you know, I'm very happy they got the deal. I just wish, and it's easy to say sitting here, I wish they could have gotten it with maybe a different company that doesn't have this stipulation. Very easy to say here. I know that that's not feasible. Or at the very least, a shorter contract. You know, 8 to 10 years, however long it is, we're not exactly sure. That's just far too long, because you're talking about a couple of generations of boats and a couple of generations of college sailors who will miss out on some possible great developments.
Yeah, I think just looking back at the last 11 years, the Nationals have never been sailed in the last 11 years, not in laser performance boats. And that was completely by choice, not by contractual agreement or anything. So I think it's definitely been a past trend, and And whatever we're looking towards in the future, we're still never going to see a nationals in Larks. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just there's one team that sails in them every day. Would we make everyone else try and practice in those boats every day? It wouldn't work. And so I think that based on that fact, it's a bigger conversation, and it has to be something that everyone's willing to buy into if we're going to make a huge shift. And there are reasons to keep it really simple. It allows more teams to buy the boats because they're cheaper, less technical, less breakages. It also allows us to get more people into sailing. We had a ton of crews on the team when I was back in college that had never sailed before, and they became integral parts of our team, winning all American championships, and they never would have got that chance if it was something much more high performance.
Yeah, I hear you, Jane. You know, and if you're talking about getting more people involved, we're talking about growing the sport, getting more teams in, and more teams with the ability to host a championship or a semifinal, and competition purely from the builders should be involved in that. You know, it'll drive the prices down for a team who wants to get a new fleet, and this contract will cancel that out. So, you know, I think we can go back and forth all day long, but it's just a matter of, you know, stifling the development that has already started in the class, potentially driving up prices, and limiting the quality and customer service that the teams might see as well.
Yeah, well, I would hope not, given that it's a partnership between Laser Performance and the ICSA, and I wouldn't think that the ICSA would do anything to put college sailing at harm, but I do think it is a bigger conversation about where the sport should be going and whether it should be going more high performance, and it does seem like it's going to be a few years, quite a few years off, given that this partnership has been agreed to.
It certainly is a bigger conversation. Thank both of you for your viewpoints, and of course we welcome the audience to leave your own thoughts and comments in our comment section. We just ask that you be as respectful on this issue as Jane and Eric just were. And remember, the ICSA email list is not really for this sort of debate. So let's have it here on Chalk Talk. We'd love to hear your thoughts, questions. We might be taking this discussion up again, but I think that's about all the time we have here on the first episode of the new season of Chalk Talk. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks to our hosts, Eric, Jane.
Thanks, see you soon.
Thanks, and good luck this weekend.